Welcome to this episode of Plain Rainbows, where I am here with my lovely co host, James. Are you
Yay! Happy
there?
Pride, everyone.
And then we have the privilege of being joined by this wonderful fellow by the name of Marlin. Marlin grew up beachy and is here to talk about some of that experience. So, hi, Marlin. Would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Hello, I'm
Welcome.
Marlin. Thank you. I was raised in the beachy community in central Kentucky until I was around 21, and subsequently left, and now I'm living the big city dream in Nashville, Tennessee.
So, what made you leave?
Well, the abridged version is I came out, the pastor wasn't happy, eventually kicked me out. And funny enough, my parents gave their blessing for me to leave.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it happens very often. But basically what happened was I came out when I was 19. To the pastor of the church and to like the other two preachers after a Wednesday night prayer meeting. um,
I'm
they
missing
The
yeah,
spirit called you.
more like it was kicked and dragged out of me.
those prayers just really helped you become
Mhm.
your true self. That's
Yeah,
what happened.
no, I had been straying, like as guess you would say, and had kind of stopped going to church a little bit, and hanging out. I had met some people from the outside world, and was hanging out with them under their influence. And the pastor of our church one day was just like, I want to have a conversation with you, like counsel you, whatever. So we set up this meeting for after prayer meeting one Wednesday night. And we met in this little room, and he was like, there's something in your life that you're struggling with, and you need to tell me what it is so we can help you fix it. And I couldn't like say the words at first, and then we prayed about it. Like he said, in the prayer, please give Marlin the strength to tell us what he needs to tell us. And then I just said, I was like, I think I'm gay. And his response was,
Hallelujah.
mm-hmm, amen. His response was, I thought that's what it was. And then the very next thing was, you have to tell your parents tonight. They had already like gone home. They were in bed. I had to call them and wake them up and say, hey, I'm coming home with the entire pastor, like all the pastors from our church. I have something to tell you. So we sit in the living room, and I told them that, I thought I was gay, but, we were going to fix it. I was going to get help. And yeah, so I started going to therapy sessions, aka reading the Bible and praying with the pastor at his home while his wife and children were upstairs. Which, looking back, a lot of my secular friends were like, he was trying to sleep with you. I'm like, no, it was just
But
like,
also,
yeah, from an outside perspective, a lot of people have been like,
Was he cute?
what?
was he cute?
Was he cute? Was he worth sleeping with?
Too far, James. Too far.
I mean,
Regardless, I do have a very important question about
yes.
that. Like, have you ever heard of like conversion therapy? Like, do do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah. So if you've read or seen Boy Erased, um, my pastor wanted to send me to the exact same place that I think his name is Gerard Conley experienced and went through. It's a conversion therapy center in Memphis, Tennessee, or close to. I think it's shut down now, but yeah. If you've not read or seen Boy Erased, amazing. Check it out. But yeah, he wanted me to go to full-on conversion therapy.
So, do you think his prayers were answered when you left the church?
Honestly, at that point, yes, his prayers were answered. So, because
You troublemaker.
I became the problem child that he couldn't fix. So after a few therapy sessions, I stopped going. Um, Subsequently, he offered me a job to work for him, which he was in a, as you would say, masculine field. And he offered me a job. He's like, come work for me. I will teach you how to be a
Oh,
man,
yeah.
basically. And I worked for him for 6 to 8 months. Was absolutely miserable the entire time. And finally got to a point where I couldn't take it and I was ready to quit. And literally the day I was going to quit, he's like, we need to talk. He said, you don't want to listen. You don't want to let me help you, fix your life. And, basically like, we're done. And I was like, okay. And I had a breakdown in the car right all the way home. Called my parents and was like, hey, this is what happened. And I got home and we sat down and we talked, and they basically said, they're like, okay, that was the straw. They're like, okay, you don't have to be Mennonite. You don't have to, go to our church. Want you to find a church and like still be a Christian and stuff, but like you don't have to be Mennonite anymore. Which this was like fall. I still like continued to go to the church until around the new year. And then I wrote a letter and I said, I'm renouncing my membership effective this date. I am no longer a member of this church. I am no longer a part of this community. 6 months later, he read the letter to the entire church and then said, we need to have a vote to excommunicate Marlin, after I'd already renounced my membership. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but that was his like saving grace to be like, Marlin's gone.
So, what does excommunication mean?
So for my community, it's you're not allowed to partake in communion. You're not a member of the church. They don't go so far as shunning, but basically, it's a stain on your record and you are no longer a part of this community and a part of this church. I could go back if I, similar to the Amish, if I confessed all my sins and begged for forgiveness and said I wanted to, do over, I'm sure I could go back, but don't see that happening.
They will require
So if I could jump in for a second, Marlin, could you maybe give us an overview of the different types of Mennonite churches and the denominations, and which ones are accepting and which ones are not accepting?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I was raised, which is considered the beachy church. Ladies are required cape dresses, coverings with strings, no solid color, no prints, no nothing fun, all solid colors. Funny enough, growing up, I thought the word conservative meant liberal, because when my family members would, leave the beachy church and go to the more liberal church where, women could wear skirt and blouses and things, it was called the conservative church. So that was,
Oh,
going to conservative church. They have musical instruments. And then it goes, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, which church is the most which churches of the Mennonites are accepting of LGBTQ?
So there is a sect that is, I guess they consider themselves liberal Mennonite or Anabaptist. Funny enough, there's one in Seattle that is hugely, like, they partner with Black Lives Matter. They partner with like all the LGBTQ organizations.
That's fantastic.
Sorry?
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah,
I love to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very curious one day. I was like, let me just Google and see what's around. And yeah, there are definitely more liberal Mennonite churches. They don't dress Anabaptist anymore. Like, they assimilate. You would never know that they were Anabaptist unless they told you. But yeah, there are very liberal sects of the Mennonite church that are LGBT affirming. Um, where I come from and where my family comes from, it is still not allowed or condoned. Um,
Didn't 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 the Mennonites kind of have a big split over LGBTQ rights like a couple years ago?
mhm, yeah, I think the more like global organization had a pretty big split within
Like
the
Mennonite Church USA?
yes, yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah, it hasn't trickled down to my area though.
Yeah. It's always interesting to know that there's all these different varieties and flavors. It's almost like, you have a bag of Skittles and you reach in there and you're just trying to get a specific color of Skittles so that yeah,
Trying to find the one that is your flavor and works for you.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it
But
is.
yeah, no, going back to the whole like excommunication thing, I had another question about that as well. When you say like excommunication, like you're no longer a part of this, but you had already disavowed your membership, you had dissolved that, so
Yeah,
you were no longer a part of that organization, anyways, right?
exactly.
Um, so, but does that mean that like people can still have relationships with you without being put in the bond, or like they can like or they're required to like minister to you, to be a witness to you or something of like, having you return to your faith and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no bond. I'm still to this day very close with my parents. And like I have family members, like I would say 98% of my family don't acknowledge it at all. I have several family members who are very affirming, have been, completely open and accepting and have loved me regardless of, their views on my lifestyle. Um, I've had one or two that have tried to like reach out and witness and slide into the DMs and tell me how I'm going to hell for you know loving someone. But yeah, there's no shunning or anything like that. I still spend time with my family and see them as much as I can, and they're great. Minus, it's with my parents. We've kind of learned what to talk about and what not to talk about
Mhm.
and just kind of, you know, smooth things over.
Thank you for sharing that. That's
Yeah.
pretty fantastic, that you're able to have family that is affirming
Mhm.
and family that is in your life. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, more people need to be like that.
Mhm.
Sorry, not sorry. Like,
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. Um, so anyways, so you left the church and now what do you do?
I currently work for a medical equipment company. I have somehow landed a boring 9 to 5 corporate job, and honestly, sometimes how as for us growing up when we're kids, we think, oh, we're going to be married to someone of the opposite gender and we're going to, have 3 to 5 kids. We're going to do what our parents did for work and we're going to be a part of the church. And sometimes I just look at my life and where I'm at now. And I mean, it's not like I'm a rock star, or like, I do anything crazy or cool, but it's like even 16-year-old me, if I saw 16-year-old me, living in a big city, the people in my life who I have, are just amazing and supportive and love me unconditionally. And, you know, the adventures I've gotten to go on in my life, like 16-year-old me, blown away. Didn't see it coming, didn't believe would ever happen. So,
So would you say it was unfathomable to you as a 16-year-old that you could have a life that you have now?
oh yeah, I mean, I definitely was under the impression, one day I'm going to meet the woman that is enough and, we'll be happy together and I'll get married and have some kids. And, I never thought I would I don't know. I don't want to say escape, but I didn't see like life being different than what I like grew up with. So
Well, did you even see any LGBTQ folks when you were growing up?
I no, not the. I'm trying to think about the first gay person or LGBT person. LGBTQ. There's so many acronyms now.
Queer covers everything.
Yeah, queer. I don't even know. Honestly, probably. I mean, I grew up knowing I mean, from the time I was 7, 8, I knew I was attracted like to men. I knew I was different. Um, and I remember my first crush, but ooh, just kidding. I just remembered my
Oh,
crush.
Oh.
I was a very small child. I take that back. I would have had to been 3 or 4. Family vacation in Florida, Sarasota, Amish paradise. Uh,
don't make me choke.
and we were walking the beach, and somehow I got separated from my parents, and I was too close to the water. Like a wave came up and got me, and this is probably one of my earliest childhood memories. I remember this like big, strong man picking me up out of the water, and it just like feeling like good.
That feeling,
That
that feeling.
no, like,
I know, I know.
and it feels weird to say because, like, I mean, you're a 3-year-old kid, but like,
It's not like it's a sexual thing.
no,
It's more or less just like a oh,
like this feels right, like a comfort thing. Yeah,
right. And it's just yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
would definitely I can definitely relate all too far
yeah,
too well.
mhm,
But yeah, no, that's really interesting that you remember that. Like
yeah, but
in
yeah,
Amish paradise of all places. Had to go back to your roots, because didn't like yeah,
yeah.
just all the way. Had to go all the way. Okay. This is where
So
we go now.
would you say that you face a lot would you say that you face a lot of homophobia within the Mennonite culture that you grew up in? And how would you say, a gay Mennonite coming out or coming out today, what environment are they navigating? Or can you speak a little bit to any of that?
Um, God bless you. Good luck to you. um, yeah, I mean, so from the few other gay Mennonites that I know, one friend in particular, um, his family has like kind of the same situation that I'm in. Some family members are accepting, some have been very, absolutely not accepting. It's tough. Um, yeah, I would say find someone that you absolutely know you can trust. For me, there was a girl who she was kind of an outcast. I was kind of an outcast, and we just bonded. And she's the first person that I ever told. And thank God she was instantly just okay. Like it was a surprise to her, but it wasn't. This is where our friendship ends. And she was like just amazing and super supportive. Um, there weren't online resources like when I was coming out. I
Right.
didn't know what to Google. I feel like today there are more resources. I mean, I know like you guys are here. There are, a few Facebook groups, and I mean,
Well,
there's
there's the Trevor Project for
yeah,
youth, ages 13 to 24. You can call in, you can text, you can chat on the internet, and then there's stand-in families. I don't know if you've ever seen that group, but it used to be called TikTok stand-in families, and there's a significant amount of people in there who it's simply a group for LGBTQ folks from all walks and ways of life who need a stand-in family, or they need support, or it's now called Stand-in Pride. And there's over 30,000 people all over the world, in the US for sure, who are, some of them are just there to be supportive people for you.
Yeah.
Nice. And
So
yeah,
that's
that,
really,
like, well, in the Amish, we don't do missionary work, but the Mennonites do missionary work. So,
Yes.
I would definitely like to give a shout out to the Old Colony Mennonites in Mexico, any LGBTQ Mennonites in Mexico, and other countries around the world which are not, which are really politically volatile, or it's not a safe environment to come out. And like most recently, we're recording this in April, but we have the current conflict in Ukraine, and you can imagine any LGBTQ, or just anyone in Ukraine. But I mean, so I want to send a message of solidarity to any Mennonites in those countries, in those faraway places. Do you have any thoughts on that, Marlin?
Yeah, I mean, well, you speaking about mission work actually brought me back to probably the first time I saw LGBTQ people existing. Was I actually did a mission trip to New York City when I was 17 to 18, handing out literature and CDs. That was probably my first experience with that. But yeah, it's sorry, excuse me. Yeah, it's
They pass out CDs. What do they do now? Pass out QR codes?
no, I mean, at that point, this was early 2000s. I'm surprised it wasn't still cassettes.
I mean,
But
CDs of what?
a cappella gospel hymns.
Shall we pray? My bad.
Amen.
We could go back to our Catholic roots and just, do the, yeah, okay. I think that's how it's done. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I went to a Catholic church, just to check it out.
Never been.
Yes.
Oh, you should go. You should go.
What am I really?
I highly encourage you to go.
Is it very like takes you back to being in the Amish church because it's very ritualistic and long and boring, right?
It's definitely, you can tell that's where roots came from.
Yeah.
I would say so. I felt like it was. But
I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, I felt right at home.
it just feels comfortable. I mean, uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but like comfortable at the same time. It's like the weirdest thing in the world. Like, if you've never experienced it,
Yeah.
it can be worth at least like one try just to see what it's like.
I guess the Catholic
Absolutely.
Church had too much gold and glitter. That's why the Amish had to break away.
I mean, but didn't the Mennonites break away for the same reason?
Yeah.
Let's not throw stones.
I can never remember. Isn't it's like which came first, the chicken or the egg? I can't remember which came first, the Amish or Mennonite. But I
The
know it
Mennonites. The
was the
Mennonites.
and
The
then,
Yeah.
Mennonites came first, yes.
Yes.
and then
Yes.
Mr. Almond.
And then they split with Jacob Amman over the issue of shunning.
Well, the Mennonites just weren't doing it right. We had to go do it right.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
not,
kind of like the same reason that we're here, is we're just like following in our ancestors' footsteps and becoming apostates from our church of origin.
I
Very
think
true.
we're trying to bring it back together.
We are our ancestors' wildest dream.
I think that for us to be that, James, we would have to go become drag performers. So we should do that.
So down. I have the Instagram handle already too.
Oh, you're ready?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's something we have to talk about later, but we got to go there. With that being said, like, do y'all have any like parting words for anybody who listens to this? James, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I would just like to tell all of our viewers, we're releasing this for Pride. So happy Pride Month, Mennonites and Amish, and those in the Anabaptist umbrella. We don't get to celebrate Pride the way the way everybody else does, because our churches violate our human rights, and we are not allowed to pursue happiness the way others are. Happy Pride to all the gay Mennonites out there, lesbian Mennonites, bisexual Mennonites, any transgender Mennonites. We got your back, baby. Happy Pride, and Marlin, I'm gonna kick it over to you.
Okay. Well, I guess I would just say if you're, struggling or questioning or, think you're the worst person in the world, you're not. You're valid. You're beautiful. You might think that you're alone, but there is a huge group of people out here who are ready to love you. Yeah, happy Pride. As my favorite artist Casey Musgrave says, kiss lots of girls or kiss lots of boys. Follow your arrow wherever it points. And I promise, if I'm ever invited back, I'll learn to speak.
Say that one more time.
I said, if I'm ever invited back, I'll learn how to speak. My words are kind of stumbling.
Hey, it happens sometimes. No, thank you very much, both
Yeah.
of you. Thank you, James, and thank you, Marlon.
Yeah.
And I'd like to echo that if you're listening, and you're struggling, here's the thing is like sometimes it's not safe to come out. We recognize that. It is not necessary for you to come out to be a valid human being who is worthy of love and compassion and empathy and respect. And to top it all off, just because you are gay or queer or in any form, shape, or way, doesn't mean you're going to hell. Like Marlon said, there's a lot of people out here who are ready to love you and embrace you and help you find your way. So, be true to you and find out who you are. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.